Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Plant Health Australia's first member-based webinar. We're hopeful that this will actually be a better opportunity to engage with a broader number of members, hopefully saving costs for the level of interaction that we're trying to engage in as well, which would be good. Just to let you know that this webinar will also be recorded. It will then be loaded up onto the PHA website. So if other members can't join the webinar, they can have access to what we've discussed and presented a little later, or you can refer back to the webinar if you choose to. This is just one of a number of engagement processes we've been working through to develop the annual operating plan. Quite clearly, we have ongoing conversations with a number of you, both one-on-one and in groups, and that will continue not just today, but for the next month or so, and we'll be talking about timelines around the AOP a little bit later. So for those who have been able to join us online, thank you very much. I hope this works well for you as it does for us. So just a couple of things. We've set up a couple of opportunities for you to ask questions of us during the presentation, and those instructions are on the screen in front of you. They've also been circulated by Angela a couple of times, so hopefully that should give you an opportunity to chat to us online and put questions in. If for any reason the online process doesn't work well, you can phone or text my mobile number, which is 0419 503 315, and that's being monitored outside of this room, and if questions come into that phone, they'll be brought into the room. We'll try and answer them appropriately. As you know, we developed the strategic plan a couple of years ago now, and this AOP will be driven by that strategic plan, and we'll be presenting more or less in line with those key result areas that we established some time ago: the partnerships, the deed, preparedness, surveillance, diagnostics, RD&E, and we'll be updating you some financial figures as well. So the agenda is on the screen. When we do, or if we get questions, what we'll do is hold those questions and have them after each agenda item. And you'll see that as we go through the various presentations, there'll be a question slide at the end. And if we do have questions, then we'll try and answer them then. We have circulated the mid-year performance report recently. That's been finalised. It was finalised after the board meeting in mid-February. Traditionally, when we have these face-to-face meetings, we tend to go through the mid-year performance report a little bit. But I think that following some discussions we had last year at the various meetings, we've just sent it to you. If you do have questions relating to our performance that's reported in the mid-year performance report, please don't hesitate to email or call PHA, and we can discuss some of those questions you might have. But we're not going to spend much time today in discussing either the previous AOP or the mid-year performance report. I'll now just pass over to Michael to give you a bit of an update on our 17-18 performance.
Okay, so welcome everyone. It's good to see so many have actually turned up today to watch us. I have here on the slide a forecast to 30th of June and a comparison with the budget that was presented in May last year to members. I'll just deal with the large variances. The biggest one is in project funding, when we were actually down $466,000, but that's a relatively small percent. The reasons for that, there's various reasons. One is internally, PHA staff have focused in other areas in the first 9 months of the year to a certain extent, for example, emergency responses. And there's also been staff changes within PHA that have caused some minor delays in project starting. Externally, there have also been factors such as delays in appointing industry biosecurity officers. Now, although that project funding is down, it's offset by the expenditure being down by a similar amount. Now, the next item is interest income. where you can see we're actually $85,000 ahead of budget. Now that's because substantial funding was received up front in May last year and June last year for projects running for, last year, for projects running for 2 to 3 years. We were expecting to receive this funding from milestone payments over the life of the projects, so we received that money a lot earlier than expected. And therefore, we've considerably more funds on hand than anticipated, and interest rates compared to a budget are slightly above the budget. So fortunately, we have got that extra income there. So overall, we're expecting the net surplus for the year to be around $49,000 compared to the budget of $4,000, which means we're looking to be at this moment about $45,000 ahead of budget for the year, which is a very good result. The next slide shows graphically the income that PHA receives, including the forecast up to 30th of June 2018, which in the legend is the F. The biggest movement has been in government funding, which has increased significantly, and that has caused the total income to also increase significantly. So overall, from the commencement of PHA, there's been, a gradual increase, and we continue to increase with the odd dips. The next slide shows the equity, or changes in the equity, which is the gap between the expenditure and the income, which are the blue and the red lines. And certainly over the last 10 years, we've been running very, very close to budget, and therefore any surpluses or deficits from time to time have been very minor. In 17-18, we are expecting that surplus of about 49,000. So it's a little bit hard to see, but the end of the blue line is slightly above the red line. And the green line, which is equity, has basically remained very stable also over the last 10 or so years, and we expect that to remain the case. We have shown this graph before, and here we're showing the variances to budget in blue. So we've got the budget and the actual performance. In the first 6, 7, 8 years of PHA, there were very large variances, and that was mainly based on, I think, the procedures for preparing the budget. We've streamlined that considerably over the last 5 or 6 years, and as you can see, the variances in blue to budget have been relatively minor over that period. PHA has a reserves policy, which was developed with the assistance of Ernst & Young. And the establishment and maintenance of this operating reserve is a very high priority for the board of PHA, and it's considered at every board meeting. We need these operating reserves to cover core activities and make sure that PHA remains in good financial health. The reserves are expected to remain within policy for the foreseeable future. As far as the forecast of reserves for this year, we have the blue line, which is the forecast, includes all cash movements, including capital expenditure. So we are expecting the reserves to go down slightly by the end of the financial year. This is a forecast, but still reasonably well above the minimum reserve, and we are comfortable with this position. We receive a considerable amount of money through levies, statutory levies, for various purposes, including paying PHA subscriptions and also funding various projects. As you can see in the red line, over the last 5 years, the amount of this is PHA subscriptions, have increased considerably. And this is because some members are using the PHA levy to repay the Commonwealth for underwriting emergency responses. So big increase there. And this is just a summary from year to year on the next page. I think there's been an increase every year, which shows that members are using the PHA levy considerably more than in the past. We also receive funding from EPPR levies, which are used to repay the Commonwealth. Some members are accumulating a fighting fund through the EPPR levy so that funds will be available in the case of an incursion. We are similar this year in collection to last year, but as you can see, the amounts are quite high when we're looking at $4.5 to $5 million a year for the EPPR levy. Lots of organisations use levies, and I have prepared a comparison here of levy recipient bodies who receive levies under $15 million. So the likes of the GRDCs, etc., are excluded from this table. But as you can see by the red line, the PHA levies have been increasing significantly, since 2015, and there's only the National Residue Survey levy that collects more than PHA in this group of levy recipient bodies. So that indicates and shows, I think, how well the levies system is working for members of PHA, and I'd certainly urge members who haven't got levies to talk to us, and there are a number talking to us at the moment, so that we can implement levies that will benefit industries. Questions?
Thanks, Michael. We're just checking to see if we have any questions. We have none online at the moment, and none on my phone. So not that I was expecting very many. Basically, summation of Michael's presentation was that there are some variances in the financial performance of the business at the moment, year to date, but the business is in quite a solid financial position. And again, that's not different to the position we were in last year. Okay, Michael.